Welcome to episode 3 of my story on Mirror Talk. Okay, so I'm just going to get into the book and read from the book, and then after this, I'll do a reflection video, probably tomorrow or sometime soon. Okay. I need to tell a story that I would rather not. I don't want to hurt anyone by needing to bring skeletons out of the closet. However, this event has a lot to do with why I became rebellious and didn't care about anyone, especially myself. I think I was 10. My friend from up the street was sleeping over. We went to bed and I woke up because I heard sounds. It was a moaning of some sort. I tried to listen to figure out what it was, but I couldn't figure it out. Then I was getting scared. I didn't know if my mom was hurt or in trouble or what was going on. So I came out of my bedroom and walked towards the kitchen. And the sounds got louder and clearer. I could see legs on the floor by the kitchen, in the walkway into the dining room. I got my head around the corner and I saw a man's head buried between my mother's legs. But that wasn't even the worst part. The man looked back at me, and it was our neighbor's husband. I just started to scream. I was horrified. I was crying and screaming as loud as I could, and she just left me there for what seemed like a lifetime. But it was the longest, scariest 10 to 15 minutes of my young life. When my mother finally came in, and I asked what was going on, she told me that I didn't see anything, I imagined it, and she wasn't doing anything. I screamed at her, calling her a liar. She got angry with me and treated me like I was dirt. To this day, I remember what she was wearing that night. It was a short turquoise terry cloth bathrobe. I was crushed. My mom avoided me the next day. I loved my mother so much, and I couldn't even fathom the betrayal. My security, my world, was shattered. The next day, I was in the basement playing when I see the neighbor's husband come down the stairs. He threatens me, yelling at me that I saw nothing and to keep my mouth shut. He was scolding me. He left. I ran upstairs crying and told my mother what had happened. She didn't console me. After that, I caused a lot of problems. I felt alone, unwanted, the outcast. My brother and sister hated me because I was mean to my mother. I told them what had happened, and they called me a liar, saying I was doing this for attention. That was like the theme of things after the thing at 8, when I was 8. That everything I did was just for attention. I trusted no one and wanted to hurt everyone a lot. I had a lot of anger. I now sought for love and attention any way that I could. And I got a lot of attention from men. Seemed like every man I ever was around wanted me. So Ike moved in. He remodeled. Oh, wait a second. Okay, so this is hard. I should be wearing my glasses, but I don't know where they are. So Ike moved in. He remodeled the basement and basically lived down there. He was living in Weymouth before that, and he had an apartment there. Because of my rebellion and issues with Ricky and my sister's obsession with Tony, my mother enrolled us into Weymouth Catholic, saying we lived at Ike's address. This was a very strange time in my life. I met some freaky people and continued to rebel. I was introduced to the spirit world, seances, and other freaky shit. I remember taking no-dos before school and giving it out to other students. I can't remember exactly when the first time my mom kicked me out was. I know it was shortly after my father died. And I ended up at this guy's house in Stoughton. It was pretty bad. There were roaches, and I remember eating mayonnaise sandwiches because there was no other food to eat. It was through Christmas, though, because a friend of mine had given me a carton of cigarettes and it was like I had won the lottery. I remember telling my sister that I was going to turn my mother in for kicking me out because I was underage, and the next day the Stoughton police came and picked me up. My mom told them that I had ran away, which was a lie. I believe that was when she put me in a foster home in Brockton. It was a group home for uncontrollable kids. I remember crying myself to sleep, feeling so alone. There was a counselor there named Derek, and he pursued me while I was there. He would flirt with me, and I remember being in his car and him trying to kiss me and being angry at me for not complying. I think I ran away from there after that because I remember being in a brown 3-story building in Brockton with some girl and 2 guys. I was raped, and I remember walking the streets of Brockton wanting to die. It is all kind of a blur. Like I said, I've blocked out a lot. When Ike was living with us, he would let us do things my mom wouldn't when she was working, like drink, give us pot, let us go out past curfew. There was a method to his madness, though. He would always tell Kim and I how beautiful we were, hug us extra long, have wandering hands. He would take pictures of us, telling us to pose sexy. I ran away again, leaving my sister there, which I wish I didn't because she got the brunt of it. When I ran away, I ended up at a foster home in Brockton. My friend's boyfriend's father ran it. Or owned it. I can't remember the guy's name. But I told him I had nowhere to go. He kept looking at me with desire. He brought me to his lady's house. I think she was a prostitute. Anyways, she brought me to a lot of shady guys' houses. I remember she left me at one house, and again, I was raped. I told the guy who brought me there, and I heard that was taken care of. But now this guy tells me that he has friends up north, and he would bring me there until nobody was looking for me anymore. However, his tone wasn't as though I had a choice. The vibe was that he went out of his way to help me, and he could get in trouble for that, so this was what was going to happen, sort of thing. He drove me to Maine. The whole way up I cried, while he told me how beautiful I was, how special, how he would take care of me. We get to Maine, and it was a small hick town. He brings me to this house where lives a family, a wife, husband, and 2 kids. They were poor, however, acted as though this guy was the godfather. He molested me before he left me there. He was acting nervous and enchanted by me. I can't remember how long I was there, and I can only remember the kitchen and the room I was molested in. I remember receiving letters from the guy there. They were love letters. He was in love with me, supposedly. I was homesick and afraid of being killed. I used his feelings for me to gain his trust, and I wrote, "If you love me, please let me go." He came to get me and dropped me off up the street from my mother's house. I didn't say much at first. I was terrified. But eventually, I explained what happened to me and gave his name to a cop in my family. In the meantime, my sister was being abused by Ike the whole time, and I believe it was immediately after I got home that she ran away. Wrote a letter to my mother telling her what was going on. My mother moved us all out of the house and told Ike to move out. We were with friends at first, then at my family's houses. Then I remember going to our house with my mother. She was pissed because I wasn't answering her calls or moved out. When we got there, my mom ran down to the basement, and Ike was on the floor. She was hitting and kicking him, saying, "Get up, you bastard, get up." Then she realized that he was dead. Looked at me and said, "Get upstairs now." My mother called my aunt first. I guess she didn't know what to do. I remember her saying, "Paula, the son of a bitch is dead. What do I do?" And then the cops and the whole shebang. All right, I know this is a lot. Let's see, it's only been 10 minutes, but okay, we're going to go a little bit further. I know I'm kind of nonchalant on this stuff because there's a lot. There's a lot of shit to write. That's why I do the reflections. So, all right. I had attempted suicide while Ike was in our lives. Ike took a lot of medication, and I ate over 100 pills. I wanted to die so bad. I vaguely remember my sister trying to wake me up after the attempt. Then all I remember is waking up in the hospital, restrained to a bed, with a priest over me praying. There was a bright light on the wall in back of the bed when I woke. I thought that I had made it to heaven, but then was devastated that I had lived. I was in the hospital for a week, I think. Then I was transported to a mental institution. I was admitted for 30 days. I remember being in a group and the counselor asking me if I would ever try something like this again. And I said no. He said, why? I said, because I'm afraid that it wouldn't work again. And I would rather be miserable for the rest of my life than to be admitted to another mental institution again. There were some messed up people in that place, and I feared one of them hurting me in the middle of the night. There was also this woman. I think I'm going to take that part out, actually. No, I won't. Okay. There was also this woman who had Down syndrome on our floor. She was about 30 years old, and it was the juvenile ward. Anyways, she used to try and grab my ass and tits. She thought it was funny. I lost it on her one day, and I punched her. I was locked in a padded room for 24 hours. What a nightmare that whole experience was. I was released after 30 days with the condition of 1 year of counseling mandatory. Finally, therapy. A little bit late, kids. I can't remember where in the Ike episode this happened. I believe it was before the kidnapping thing. I don't know. Though, like I said, it's all a blur. Ike had killed himself, ironically, the exact same way I had attempted. However, before he killed himself, he planted drugs in my mother's room, wrote letters to all of our family members, aunts, uncles, my nana, saying that my sister and I were teenage murderers who seduced him, and that my mother murdered him and shit like that. He also sent pictures of a half-naked woman who you couldn't see her face and said that it was my mother. Talk about twisted. There was a stain on the cellar floor where his body was. It's probably still there. I guess that's a lot. Yeah. 2 rapes and some molestation. Yeah, that's a lot. So, this was a very, excuse me. I'm going to reflect on this tomorrow. I think that's enough tragedy for one video. But thank you for listening. And you'll get my reflection soon. Please like, subscribe, comment, share. All right. Thank you.